There are moments in life when your silence speaks louder than your words. Moments when the noise of the world fades and the only sound left is the beating of your heart in rhythm with God's will. My friend, hear me clearly. God sometimes brings you to a place where He demands your silence, not as a punishment, but as a preparation. Because before a miracle unfolds, before divine power manifests, there must be a stillness that allows His hand to move freely. You cannot talk your way into a miracle. You must trust your way into it. When God is about to do something great in your life, He often leads you into a season where you can say nothing, explain nothing, defend nothing. You will feel misunderstood, misjudged, and unseen. But in that silence, God is working in ways you cannot comprehend. The silence is not the absence of activity. It is the sacred ground where heaven begins to rearrange the details of your destiny. The silence is where God breathes life into what once seemed dead. You see, when you talk too soon, you interfere with divine timing. When you speak prematurely, you reveal what heaven is still forming. God wants you silent, not because He wants you powerless, but because He wants His power to speak for you. Many people fail to receive their miracle because they cannot stay silent long enough for God to finish His work. They pray for breakthrough, but their mouths contradict their prayers. They believe in promise, yet they complain in process. You cannot ask God to open a door and then speak doubt into the hallway. Your words are seeds, and when you speak in impatience, you uproot what God is trying to grow in silence. There is a reason why God told the people of Israel to walk around the walls of Jericho in silence. For 6 days they said nothing. They didn't complain about the size of the wall. They didn't question the strategy. They didn't talk about their fear. They walked, they waited, and they trusted. And when the time came, when God said, now, the walls fell. Not because of their shouting alone, but because of their obedience in silence before the shout. The silence built the faith. The silence strengthened the spirit. The silence proved they trusted the unseen hand of God. When you are silent, you give space for heaven to speak. God's whisper cannot be heard over the noise of your fear. He cannot plant wisdom in a mind that's crowded with worry. Silence is not weakness. It is spiritual discipline. It is the posture of those who trust that God is not late, not absent, not unaware. He is moving. He is preparing. He is aligning the impossible become possible. God never works in noise. The seed grows in silence. The sun rises without announcement. The stars shine without applause. Miracles are born in moments of stillness. Do not mistake God's silence for His absence. When heaven is quiet, it is often because God is designing something too powerful for your immediate understanding. You may not see it yet, but He is setting the stage for your transformation. You may not hear it yet, but He is orchestrating the sound of your victory. Every silent season is an unseen construction site of destiny. God is building behind the scenes. When you stay silent, you cooperate with His timing. You surrender your control. You say, God, I trust your plan more than my emotions. That is where faith becomes mature. Not in shouting, but in silence. Silence is not passive, it is powerful. It is where you wrestle with your own impatience and choose to rest in divine order. It is where your heart says, even if I don't understand, I will still trust. God tests you through silence to see if your faith depends on feelings or on His promises. He watches to see if you can still believe when you hear nothing. Because faith that survives silence is faith that commands miracles. Sometimes God hides you in silence because He is protecting what He is producing. There are people who cannot handle the size of what He is about to give you. If you speak too soon, you expose your promise to unnecessary attack. The enemy cannot destroy what he does not know. That's why God shields your miracle in silence. He covers it until it's strong enough to stand. You may think God forgot you, but He is really preserving you. He is letting your roots grow deep before your branches rise high. He is allowing you to be unseen so that when you are revealed, no man can take credit for what only God could do. There is a divine power in saying nothing when everything inside you wants to explain. You don't have to defend yourself when you know God is your defender. You don't have to prove your worth when God already chose you. The moment you decide to stay silent in the face of misunderstanding, you elevate from human reasoning to divine trust. Let them talk. Let them assume. Let them judge. While they speak, you stay still. Because silence invites God to speak louder through results than you ever could through words. The greatest miracles are not shouted into existence. They are silently conceived in faith. When Sarah laughed in disbelief, God said nothing immediately. But when the time came, when the silence had done its work, the child of promise was born. When Joseph was thrown into the pit, heaven said nothing. When he was sold, imprisoned, forgotten, silence. Yet in that silence, God was shaping him for greatness. When the time was right, He raised him to power, and every silent tear turned into a divine appointment. You must understand, silence is God's classroom for destiny. When you complain, you close the door to revelation. But when you are silent, you open the window for God's wisdom. Sometimes you do not need to say, why? You just need to whisper, yes. Because God is not obligated to explain Himself to you. His silence is not rejection, it is strategy. If He told you everything, you would not need faith. So He hides His methods to strengthen your trust. The miracle will not come through noise, it will come through obedience. You don't need to announce your faith to everyone. You need to anchor it deep within your soul. You need to wake up and say, God, even if I hear nothing today, I will still believe. That is the kind of faith that moves mountains. Because silence before the miracle is not emptiness. It is expectation. It is the pause before the divine symphony begins. It is the calm before heaven releases what you've been praying for. You may feel like your prayers are echoing back unanswered, but I tell you, God is listening more in your silence than in your shouting. He hears the tears you never cried aloud. He reads the pain you never spoke. He understands the battles you never explained. And He rewards those who can trust Him without needing to talk. Sometimes you must carry the promise quietly, like a mother carrying life in her womb. Nobody can see it yet, but you know something divine is forming inside. Every delay, every silence, every hidden season is evidence that the miracle is growing. The world values expression, but heaven values restraint. The world says, speak your truth. God says, be still and you will see mine. The world teaches noise. God trains you in stillness, because true strength is not shown in reaction. It is shown in restraint. The strongest person is not the one who always speaks, but the one who knows when to stay silent and let God act. Do not let your emotions speak louder than your faith. When you face a storm, silence the fear and let your faith whisper, God is in control. When people betray you, silence your anger and let your soul say, God is my vindication. When life becomes uncertain, silence your doubt and let your heart declare, God knows what He is doing. Every moment you choose silence over reaction, you build spiritual authority. You show heaven that you trust divine timing more than human opinion. If you study how God works, you will see that silence always comes before power. Before creation began, the universe was silent and formless. Then God spoke and life burst forth. Before great revelation, there is always great stillness. Before a new door opens, there is often a long pause. That pause is not wasted time, it is preparation time. God is aligning resources, moving people, opening pathways, adjusting hearts. You may not see it, but you will soon stand in the evidence of what your silence allowed Him to do. Don't speak against what God is still forming. Don't curse what heaven is still crafting. Keep your mouth shut and your faith loud in your heart. Because the enemy listens to your words, but he cannot read your faith. Protect your promise in silence. Guard your destiny in quiet obedience. Let God finish His work before you make your announcement. There will be a time to shout, but now is the time to stay still. There will be a time to testify, but now is the time to trust. You must master the art of divine silence. Learn to walk through seasons without needing everyone's understanding. Learn to wait without needing evidence. Learn to believe without needing confirmation. God's miracles are not birthed in noise, they are birthed in faith. The less you talk, the more you hear. The less you explain, the more you discern. The less you react, the more you receive. Because in silence, you make room for God to move freely, unhindered by your emotions or impatience. God does not rush. He is never early, never late. Always on divine time. The silence you hate is often the bridge between your prayer and your promise. God uses silence to separate the impatient from the faithful. Those who complain during silence are not ready for the miracle. Those who stay still and trust are the ones who will see it manifest. You cannot demand clarity from a God who is teaching you faith. Let the silence do its work. Let it humble your heart. Let it teach you patience. Let it train your spirit to rest. Some of the most powerful moments of your life will come when you say nothing and simply allow God to prove Himself. You don't need to announce what He told you. You don't need to prove what He promised. You just need to stay silent until the miracle speaks for itself. Because when God moves, it will speak louder than your words ever could. When the miracle happens, everyone will see. They will ask, how did it happen? And you will know, It happened in the silence. It happened when you stopped arguing. It happened when you stopped worrying. It happened when you stopped explaining. It happened when you surrendered. God's power flows into surrendered silence. There are times when silence becomes the strongest voice of faith. When you cannot see what God is doing. When every door appears locked and every prayer seems unanswered. The natural impulse is to speak, to ask, to reason, to question. But the Spirit within whispers, "Be still." Because silence is not just the absence of words. It is the declaration that you have surrendered to God's authority. It is your spirit saying, "I do not need to see, I do not need to understand, I only need to trust." Silence is faith in its purest form. It is the posture of the soul that says, "Even if I hear nothing, I believe everything." You see, there is a power that only flows in the quiet. God does not perform His greatest works in noise or chaos. He works in stillness, in the unseen, in the secret places of faith. The most miraculous transformations often happen in silence because silence removes human interference. When you stop explaining, God starts performing. When you stop defending, God begins proving. When you stop striving, God begins fulfilling. The silence is not a pause, it is a process. It is the womb of divine manifestation. Think of the seed buried deep in the earth. It does not announce its growth. It does not cry out for attention. It remains buried, unseen, uncelebrated. But in that darkness, God is working. He is breaking it, reshaping it, giving it new life. The roots are spreading even when the world sees nothing. That's how miracles grow, in hidden silence. And one day, when the season is right, that seed breaks through the soil. That moment of revelation was born from months of quiet transformation. So too are your miracles. God often hides your blessing in silence until it's strong enough to survive the light of exposure. Many people lose their miracle because they cannot handle God's timing. They speak too soon. They reveal too early. They act before the instruction is complete. But divine timing demands divine patience. The silence of God is not delay. It is design. He is orchestrating things in perfect alignment. He is removing the wrong people as positioning the right ones and crafting the perfect moment for His glory to be revealed. And while you wait, He is watching your heart. Will you complain or will you trust? Will you talk out of fear or will you stay silent in faith? When you are silent, you become sensitive to divine direction. You begin to hear what cannot be heard in noise. You begin to perceive what eyes cannot see. God's whispers are not meant for a distracted mind. They are reserved for a quiet heart. That is why those who master silence master divine communication. Because in the quiet, your spirit begins to understand things your intellect cannot. In the quiet, you begin to feel the movement of God shaping your destiny. The miracle begins not when you see the result, but when your heart aligns with His will in silence. Sometimes God silences you to humble you. He wants you to realize that not every battle requires your voice. Some victories come only through surrender. There are situations where you must stop explaining yourself to people and let God reveal the truth through outcome, not argument. Let them misunderstand you. Let them speak against you. You don't need to shout back. when God Himself will vindicate you. The greatest revenge is not words. It is results produced by divine favor. Your silence becomes a weapon of faith when you know that God's justice is stronger than human judgment. When life becomes unbearable and you are tempted to speak from frustration, pause and remember. Your silence is an act of worship. It tells God that you trust Him even in confusion. It says, I will not let my emotions dictate my faith. When you speak out of pain, you release words that weaken your faith. But when you stay silent and look upward, you release power into the unseen. Silence becomes the bridge between your suffering and your strength. It is not weakness to stay quiet. It is wisdom. Because God fights for those who can wait without murmuring. Silence before a miracle is like the still air before a mighty storm. The atmosphere may look calm, but beneath it, pressure is building. The heavens are preparing to release something powerful. That's why God often commands stillness before manifestation. You may not feel movement, but heaven is stirring. You may not see progress, but divine pressure is forming the breakthrough. The silence you're in right now may be the sound of preparation, not absence. The moment God says, now, everything will shift at once. That is why you must remain silent until the miracle happens. Because one wrong word spoken in doubt can delay what has already been set in motion. Do you remember how God instructed His servant to build in silence? Many divine works are built without applause. God develops His greatest vessels in secrecy. He allows isolation not to punish you, but to prepare you. Silence is the school of trust, where the soul learns dependence. You cannot graduate into power until you have mastered the discipline of stillness. Because those who cannot be silent before God cannot handle the weight of His glory after the miracle. Silence refines you. It burns away pride, noise, and human reasoning. It molds you into a vessel fit for divine purpose. When God is silent, it is not that He is ignoring you. It is that He is teaching you. He is testing your endurance. He is observing whether your faith is rooted in results or in relationship. Anybody can believe when God is speaking, but only the mature can believe when God is silent. Only those anchored in trust can say, even when I cannot trace His hand, I know His heart. That level of faith attracts miracles because it shows that you trust God more than you trust your own understanding. If God allowed noise to accompany every miracle, the world would worship the process instead of the provider. That is why He moves quietly. That is why He hides His power in silence, so that when it unfolds, no man can claim credit. God alone will be glorified. Your silent endurance will speak volumes when the miracle comes to light. People will look at your life and wonder how you overcame without words, without help, without noise. And you will know because you trusted the silence. God's silence also exposes the noise within you. Sometimes the loudest voices are not outside, but inside, the fears, the doubts, the impatience. In silence, those voices rise to the surface so that God can silence them one by one. You cannot conquer what you do not confront, and you cannot confront what you cannot hear. So God brings you into silence to reveal your inner noise. He shows you the parts of yourself that must be surrendered before the miracle can arrive. Silence is purification. It detoxes the soul from fear and fills it with faith. When you choose silence, you choose alignment. You stop trying to force your way and allow God to make a way. You stop explaining your pain and begin listening for purpose. You stop speaking about the problem and start sensing the promise. The miracle does not need your words. It needs your trust. There are times when the miracle is so delicate that only silence can protect it. When a mother carries new life, she moves carefully. She doesn't announce too soon. She guards the life inside because it's sacred. That is how you must protect what God is growing in you. Some blessings are not meant to be discussed until they are delivered. If you talk too soon, you invite opinions that weaken your faith. Stay silent until the miracle has matured. God wants to birth something in you that cannot survive public opinion. It must be shielded by sacred silence. The silence is also where God anoints your spirit. The noise of the world drains you, but the stillness of God fills you. In the quiet, you feel His strength returning. In the quiet, peace becomes your companion. In the quiet, your heart begins to hear new instructions, new visions, new directions. Many people pray, but few listen. Yet prayer without listening is incomplete. The miracle requires both faith in asking and faith in waiting. God does not bless the noise of panic. He blesses the calm of trust. If you could see what God is preparing, you would understand why He commands your silence. The miracle ahead of you is too holy to be handled casually. It must be protected by reverence. When God told His servants in ancient times to be silent, it was not to suppress them, it was to sanctify them. Silence is sacred. It is how you separate yourself from the distractions of the world and align your frequency with heaven. You begin to hear divine instructions, not meant for the crowd, but for your calling. And when the miracle finally happens, it will be worth every silent night, every quiet tear, every unanswered question. Because when God reveals His plan, it will silence every doubt. When the blessing arrives, it will speak for itself. You won't need to explain how it happened. Those who see it will know it was the hand of God. And in that moment, you will realize that your silence was never empty. It was filled with divine activity. There comes a point in every believer's journey where words no longer have meaning, where explanations fall short and reasoning cannot satisfy the soul. It is there, in the quiet of the Spirit, that God draws near. It is there that He whispers, "Be silent, for I am working." You see, the human heart often seeks understanding before obedience. But divine wisdom says, trust before you understand. The silence God calls you into is not confusion, it is consecration. It is where your dependence shifts from your own logic to His limitless power. You will never witness the fullness of what God can do until you have learned to wait in the stillness of surrender. When God leads you into silence, it means He is about to perform something that human effort cannot accomplish. Your words might delay it, your impatience might distort it, but your silence will protect it. Because silence is not just the absence of noise, it is the atmosphere of faith. In that silence, you stop commanding and start receiving. You stop analyzing and start trusting. You stop moving ahead of God and begin walking in step with Him. Every miracle has a moment of stillness before manifestation. Before the dawn breaks, there is deep night. Before the river flows, there is still water. Before the promise blooms, there is quiet soil. Sometimes God keeps you silent so that you may learn to listen. You cannot hear divine instruction when your mind is occupied with human reaction. Many people pray for miracles, but cannot stop talking long enough to hear what God is saying. They speak out of fear, out of anxiety, out of desperation, and yet the voice of God requires calmness. The spirit that listens more than it speaks becomes a vessel of divine revelation. Silence before God is not emptiness. It is the posture of readiness. It says, "Speak, Lord, and I will obey." When you can remain silent in the face of confusion, you demonstrate spiritual maturity. It means you no longer need to see to believe. You believe because you know who God is. You know His history with you. You remember how He carried you through battles you never expected to survive. You remember how He turned shame into strength, pain into peace, and despair into direction. That same God is not silent because He forgot you. He is silent because He is building you. He is not ignoring you. He is instructing you through stillness. He is not delaying you. He is developing you. The silence of God is not a void. It is a voice that speaks through events, timing, and conviction. It is in silence that faith becomes purified from emotion. When the noise fades, what remains is the raw truth of your trust. Silence strips you of spiritual pretenses. It exposes whether you truly believe that God is enough. Anyone can say, "I trust God," when everything is visible. But when the doors close, when the heavens seem still, and when prayers seem unanswered, can you still say, "I know God is working"? That is where real faith lies. There is a divine beauty in being hidden by God. People may forget you, overlook you, or misunderstand your silence. But God hides those He intends to honor. When God is shaping a masterpiece, He covers it until it is ready. You are not being ignored. You are being refined. You are not being silenced. You are being shielded. He is protecting what He is producing. Because when the miracle comes, it will be undeniable. When God reveals you, no one will be able to deny that His hand was upon you. The silence before the miracle ensures that only God receives the glory after it manifests. Learn to stop defending what God will one day prove. You don't have to explain your faith to those who doubt. You don't have to justify your waiting to those who rush. You don't have to answer every accusation or clarify every misunderstanding. When you are silent, you are saying, "My defense is in God's hands." And when He rises on your behalf, the same people who doubted you will witness His power through your life. Your silence becomes your sermon. Your restraint becomes your victory. Every delay is an invitation to deeper faith. Every unanswered prayer is an altar where patience is tested and trust is strengthened. God delays not to deny but to deepen. He delays not to frustrate but to fortify. When you wait silently, you build spiritual muscle. You train your heart to rest when the world screams, "Hurry." You prove to heaven that you trust divine timing more than your own schedule. And that kind of trust always precedes divine reward. The silence before your miracle is not wasted time. It is preparation time. God never wastes silence. He uses it to reorder your priorities, purify your motives, and strengthen your endurance. You see, miracles are not cheap. They require spiritual capacity. God will not release what you cannot carry. So in the silence, He enlarges your heart, sharpens your discernment, and tests your patience. Every minute of waiting adds weight to your character. Every unspoken word adds depth to your faith. And when the miracle finally arrives, you will realize why it took time, because you needed to grow into it. There is wisdom in being quiet while God works. The one who speaks too soon can ruin what heaven is still arranging. The wise soul knows that timing is everything. Even the most powerful truth must wait for its appointed moment. When you stay silent, you are saying to God, I trust your clock more than my calendar. You are saying, I don't need to rush what you are perfecting. And that level of faith releases supernatural favor, because heaven always honors trust that doesn't demand explanation. The silence before the miracle also teaches you separation. It reveals who belongs in your next season and who does not. When you go quiet, people begin to show their true colors. Those who cannot handle your silence are those who were never assigned to your purpose. God sometimes silences you to expose those who only walk with you when they can hear you. In silence, fake support fades and real faith remains. You begin to see who truly believes in you. Not because of what you say, but because of who you are. When you walk through the silent season, do not compare your pace with others. God's work in your life has its own rhythm. Others may be shouting about their progress, but your miracle may require secrecy. Some miracles are birthed in hidden places. What God is preparing for you may be greater than what others are celebrating now. Don't envy their noise. Stay faithful in your silence. Because when your moment comes, it will not need advertisement. It will carry its own announcement. There will come a moment when the silence breaks. And when it does, the sound will shake everything around you. The breakthrough will come suddenly. The doors will open effortlessly. The things that seemed immovable will fall in an instant. But until then, hold your peace. Keep your composure. Let God finish what He started. Because once the miracle is released, every quiet tear will make sense. Every night of stillness will be justified. Every unanswered prayer will be revealed as divine preparation. Silence also teaches humility. It reminds you that you are not the source. You are the vessel. You are not the author. You are the recipient. The one who knows how to be quiet before God is the one who understands their dependence on Him. The proud cannot stay silent, for pride always demands to be heard. But humility finds comfort in silence, knowing that God's voice is worth more than human approval. The silent believer says, I do not need the world to see me. I only need God to see me. And when God sees you in secret, He rewards you in public. In the silence, learn to speak only to God in your heart. Whisper to Him your fears, your hopes, your surrender. Because when you speak to men, you may receive sympathy. But when you speak to God, you receive strength. God's silence to your words does not mean rejection. It means He is responding through circumstances. Look around He may be answering you in ways words cannot capture. There will be times when your silence will confuse others, but remember, it is not their understanding that matters. It is your alignment with God's will. Let the world think what it wants. Your silence is between you and heaven. It is your secret language of faith. It is the space where divine mysteries unfold. And soon, when your miracle speaks, it will silence every doubt that ever surrounded you. So remain steadfast in your quiet trust. Keep your heart anchored in faith. For the silence you endure now is the foundation of the testimony you will one day share. When you finally stand on the other side of this season,